Hi everyone. Welcome to my presentation. My name is İzdilek Yasar. I am assistant professor at Istanbul Aydın University, Faculty of Architecture and Design. The title of my study is Aesthetics of Architectural Taste in the 21st Century, a review of award-winning projects in the context of environmental aesthetics. The aim of this study, as the title suggests, is to seek an answer to the question of what architectural aesthetics in the 21st century. Therefore, 12 projects that received the Riba Stirling Prize between 2010 and 2022 were reviewed. In the methodology of the study, STEMS theory is borrowed and projects are analyzed through the 8 concepts put forward in this theory. In his theory, Stamps distinguishes between emotions and precise definitions on physical objects and proposes to separate clear concept group for both physical objects and emotions, explaining in detail the framework by which these concepts should be addressed. As a matter of fact, the main issue with the aesthetic evaluation is that the evaluators may not be able to distinguish the moment they deal with emotions and the moment with design features. STEM's approach is important in terms of suggesting a conceptual groundwork for aesthetic discussions. It can provide an important framework for understanding and expressing the aesthetic aspect of architectural design, especially for the 21st century. These concepts put forward by STEMS are follows: physical object, architectural facade, shape complexity, whole sparse details, subjective measure of visual detail, bulk, massing, facade articulation. STEMS, in fact, later changed bulk, massing, facade articulation as the relationship between mass and fenestration. The seventh concept is character, and last one, the visual commons. The projects within the scope of study are Maximisium, Evelyn Grace Academy, Science Valley Laboratory, Estel Castle, Everman Theatre, Burntwood School, Newport Street Gallery, Hastings Pier, Bloomberg London, Goldsmith Street Council Housing, Kingston University Townhouse, and Magdalene College New Library. The project within the present study analyzed 12 projects, which were the recipients of the Riba Stirling Prize based on 8 concepts of STEMS. It was found that the aesthetic approach incorporated into the architect design emphasized the human, culture, nature relations. In the cases of Goldsmith Street Housing, Kingston University Townhouse, Magdalene College New College Library, and Burntwood School, the aesthetic approach was based on maintaining strong ties with the locality, reflecting the traces of social memory and referencing historical and cultural textures without imitating them. Similarly, the aesthetic elements included the contrast between the new and old materials used in the Estel Castle project. The roof profiles preferring to the Victorian era with a modern perspective at Newport Street Gallery, the reuse of materials bearing the traces of life in Hastings Pier, and the cultural values on the facade of Everman Theatre reflecting the public sensitivity. The permeability between landscape and building was the result of treating nature as an aesthetic element in the case of the Sainsbury Laboratory project. The project in question also accommodated sustainable design strategies in the sense thereof. Sustainable design approaches as well as aesthetic elements reflecting the cultural dimension were important aspects that determined the aesthetic aspect of those projects. For instance, sustainable strategies were an important design input that shaped the form and facade in the Bloomberg London project. The use of recovered materials in the Everyman Theatre, as well as the moving sunshines that created a large screen, were not the merely features that made the building sustainable, but also served as elements that define the aesthetic qualities of the building. The aforementioned qualities were a common trait of all the projects in question. In this sense, the results of present study are indicative of a new aesthetic understanding in the 21st century, which is based on cultural aspects and sustainable design approaches that include nature. Valid for at least for 12 projects in question, sustainability, both in terms of its cultural aspects and being environmentally friendly, was considered as a source of inspiration in today's architecture. This aesthetic approach is emphasized by Hagan can be considered as the expression of new contract between culture and nature. The architectural sphere is in constant motion and seems to have been reshaped during the last 30 and 40 years with both development of digital tools and the economic boom. The results show that architects built their design upon a new aesthetic approach based on human, culture, nature relations and sustainable design approaches. For the purposes of the new aesthetics approach, historical references are not aimed to convey meaning by changing place and dimension as in the postmodern period. On the contrary, history and culture are used as a design input to strengthen the connection of the building with the location, where is constructed and reflect the social memory across that region. This approach is at the same time compatible with social sustainability. In addition, sustainable design approaches that include environmental and ecological factors may also offer a new aesthetic image. That's all I have to say. So the references I use can be seen here. Finally, thanks for listening.